Okay, can you hear me now? Hello, hello. Tell me if you can hear me. Okay, I changed mics. You can hear me now? All right. Mics isn't working. Fortunately, I had a backup mic. So I'm going to just start again. Right? We're broadcasting on Facebook. We're broadcasting on YouTube. So wherever you might be, welcome. Talk about a hormone that controls how much fat we store and interferes with how much fat we can burn. And so many times when we're gaining weight, especially as women, we want to blame our hormones. And in fact, you can, but it's probably not the hormone that you think about. And it's a hormone that you have massive, massive control over. So, does that sound good? Having massive control over a hormone? Because we can't always quickly change our thyroid hormones. We can't always quickly change our estrogen levels, but your insulin levels you can control by how you eat and how you live your life. So I'm Dr. Rita Marie-Scalzo. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about that stubborn fat around the middle and the interaction with a very insulin and how did by choices you make on a day-to-day basis. So let's just jump right started. I know you've all heard about intermittent fasting. It's all the rage. Everybody's trying it. There's a lot of what it is or isn't. But the point that we're going to make today is how that intermittent fasting affects levels of insulin in your body and how the levels of insulin in your body affect your fat storage. Let's just start with insulin. It's to store sugar from the blood after a meal and take it and put it into the cells so the good old little mitochondria can make ATP, and that makes energy. So we get to when we make a lot of energy. But what happens with insulin is that because over time, our bodies are required to produce a lot of the sugars, the hidden sugars, the starches, the hidden starches, and stress our blood sugar. Over time, your cells become to the signal of insulin. They no longer hear, oh, I got to put that sugar into the cells. The cells become resistant. And when the cells become resistant, the levels of insulin continue to rise. The pancreas is saying, "Get sugar out of the blood." It's yelling at the insulin levels. You got to get more. Throw out more. Let's just give it more until the insulin levels get so high that the cells can't tolerate it anymore, and they become resistant. And when you become lack of sensitivities of your cells to insulin, you're going to store fat. That's what insulin does. It takes sugar out of the blood and it either puts it into your cells, like your muscle cells and your liver and your organ and gland cells, where energy and vital functions are preserved, or it takes that sugar and gets it converted to fat. And when it gets it converted to fat, you might not be overeating. You just might be eating the wrong things for your constitution, overproducing insulin. And then guess what? Not seeing fat in all the wrong places, usually, right? Not the places that you want fat. Not that people want fat in any particular places, but you're storing, right? You're storing that fat, and it's because of insulin. So there's a lot of things that you can do. You can do to control the level of insulin that your body produces. Number one is don't give it reasons to produce a lot of insulin, which means eat foods that raise your blood sugar, foods that are high, like might they be? Well, obviously, we all know that sugar is going to raise our blood sugar. Sugar, simple, but it's not just sugar, it's the healthier forms of sugar as well. Sugar, agave, maple syrup, honey, coconut sugar, all of those things will raise your blood sugar. All of those things will trigger to then secrete more insulin. And the higher the insulin levels go, the more resistant you become over time. And the more resistant you become, the more the insulin then turns to its secondary source is fat. Let's just sure this is thing. With high levels of insulin in your body, you can't burn fat. You can only store fat. It's just a physiological way of life. Here's the thing with insulin, right? Will occur when you eat too frequently. And a lot of people are still of that old-fashioned mindset that, oh, we have to graze. Small amounts of hours is going to keep us raising our blood sugar too much and helping us to maintain healthy blood sugar levels. But what most people find is it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't work that way. The more frequently you eat, the more your body produces insulin. If you want to have insulin elevated all day long, go ahead and eat it or two. Your insulin levels are elevated all day long, which brings us to how exceptionally exciting it is that you get to control the actions of this hormone and how much of this hormone, insulin, is produced in your body. It's hard to do that with thyroid hormone because there's so many things that get in the way. It's hard to do that with estrogen and testosterone that get in the way. But with insulin, control it by what you eat and when you eat. If you're eating all day long, like I said, you'll have insulin in your system all day long and you can't burn fat. And if you eat all the way up till bedtime, you're going to produce insulin at bedtime. It's going to thwart the actions of another friendly hormone, which actually helps you and do repair. If you eat too close to bedtime, it doesn't work. It doesn't work if you want to be healthy, and it doesn't work if you want to get rid of some of the fat. This leads us to spacing and timing of meals, to intermittent fasting. You've heard of it. It's in the news. There's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of videos on YouTube. There's probably posts on Facebook and Instagram about fasting and the quote unquote wonders of fasting. And fasting is something that we can do to control our blood sugar levels, to control our insulin secretion. So how does that work? Well, first thing you need to do is start overnight fast. The body is not eating overnight. It's supposed to be sleeping overnight. And breakfast is the meal traditionally eaten in the morning, and it stands to break your fast, break fast. So you're fasting overnight. Now, depending on what time you have, what time you wake, and what time you have your first meal will determine how many hours. But I just start with 12, right? So if you have your last meal and you finish dinner at 8 o'clock p.m., then you don't have your first meal the next day until 8 o'clock a.m. Simple as that. That will allow your body to heal overnight. That will allow the insulin levels to drop. That will allow growth hormone to go up and burn fat and help you to repair your body's tissue. And isn't that something we all want to do, right? So that's a form of intermittent fasting. People call that intermittent. I just call it normal sleep hygiene, sleep and eating hygiene. Do overnight. Just stop eating 3 hours before you go to bed, and start eating in the morning 12 hours later. That's a starting point. I don't consider that a fasting regime, but it's better than what probably most people are already doing. So what is intermittent fasting? What is fasting? And how does that affect insulin levels and growth hormone levels and fat storage and all that? Well, what is fasting should be pretty obvious. It's abstinence from food. You're just drinking water. But there are so many definitions of it. I just want to share and I just want to clarify. People say, well, fasting is you're just abstaining from chewing food. And so they'll have the morning, they'll have bulletproof coffee with MCT oil and butter in it and consider it a fast. Technically, it's not. Good effects on some people. They have some pretty crappy effects on other people, right? So fasting is abstinence from food. So if you finish eating at 8 o'clock at night, you can have water, tea, because there's no calories, some flavor, and might actually until bedtime. And then you go to bed, and then you wake morning, and you have water until 8 o'clock. And then you have your first meal. If you want to do a longer fast, and this is what a lot of people call intermittent fasting, I like to call it time-restricted eating. Say, okay, I'm just going to eat for 8 hours every day, and I'm going to fast for it. And you can call it intermittent fasting. I just like to call it time-restricted eating. So when you go to bed, if you wanted to go longer than 12 hours, when you finish eating your food at 8 o'clock and you want to go longer than 12 hours, you can go to 13 hours and eat your first meal at 9, 14 hours and eat it at 10, 15 hours and eat it at 11, 16 hours and eat it at 12. So it's all up to you. What schedule is going to work for you? What's going to work for you in your work and family life schedule to make it work? But what happens when we're fasting, when we're abstaining from food during those periods of time, is we're really upregulating all the body's detox systems. And there's what do we call it? A process called autophagy that starts to happen somewhere in the 15, 16 hours of fasting range. And what does that mean? It means like you have little Pac-Man in your system and they're gobbling up all the damaged cells that need repair. And they're helping you to get rid of a lot of that garbage. And some folks say that your fat burning reaches a maximum of after 36 hours of fast. Some people say 24. I believe it's just a person, and you have to find out what is that ideal fasting for you. Oh, what the heck? Some people think that everybody should have a same fasting window, and that's totally not true. If you ever listen to anything by Dr. Mindy Peltz, she talks a lot about women and their cycles and the lengths of fast that have different. So if you want to get control of that stubborn fat around your middle, if you want to not have to yourself and work for a trip at the gym every day and still see this go away, intermittent fasting or fasting, longer term fasting, can be a way. And it has all kinds of positive effects on it helps the body to lower the blood sugar levels, need less insulin, so then the insulin levels naturally go down. Lots of studies show that insulin levels go down the longer that you're fasting, right? Helps the body produce ketones, which are sources of fuel based in fat. And we basically can be burning fat and teaching your body to burn fat rather than to burn sugar. And rather than looking for that next sugar fix, So pulling it all together, there's a hormone called insulin. Insulin's a fat storage hormone. It's to your benefit to reduce the amount of insulin. And I don't mean to diabetics. They have some autoimmune conditions that are causing the body to destroy their insulin or not make enough insulin. I'm talking just to get it with healthy range so that you're not constantly hungry. You're not constantly having your body looking for sources of glucose. And you start to burn the stubborn fat. Intermittent fasting, way to go. So stay tuned for other videos where we'll go in more depth. And until so sorry. Dry throat. Until the next video. So check out some of our other videos on intermittent fasting. Till next time, be unstoppable.